Hey now.
I score, man.
I wondered where you're going with that. This guy's legit. You should see him hit.
Hello, people of the internet. I fucked that up right immediately, Bash. It's a problem with going live, man. My name's Danny Quinn. I'm the outfielder for the Glasgow Comets, one of your podcast hosts.
I am your other host, Ross Marnie of Table Breakers. How you doing, Danny?
Mate, I'm not going to lie. It's been pretty awful. I had so I'm in a fantasy league baseball with GBA,
Right.
and I was in the championship week, right? And I was leading the full week, first champion. I've never had a championship. I was there on Sunday. I was up ahead by 30 points, and then they extended the fantasy league by 1 day to get the double header. And the guy I was against, Mike Sweeney for the Galaxy, he ended up having both the pitchers. I forget who it was. It was McGill and I don't even know for the Braves, and they ended up beating me by 3 points, man. And the thing was, I had Sevy lined up, and he was going to play game 2, but the Mets turned it around and they won the game, so they pulled Sevy last minute, and all I needed was like an inning. So I don't want to exaggerate, but it was probably the worst day of my life, quite honestly. So
that is horrific. That's horrific. To lose 3.
I've not quite got over it. I'm pretty sure that this week's going to end in divorce, man, because I've been nothing but a grumpy bastard since, man. It has been awful, like, so, yeah, I'm just, you know what? I'm going to New York, and I'm going to New York in June, and at least it gives me a reason to go to Queens, because I'm going to piss in the side of the City Field and shout at every Mets fan I know. There has never been anyone I've hated more than the Mets in my fucking life right now, man. And I'm wearing Mets colours.
I was going to say,
man.
You're wearing the orange to represent him.
It's Iron Brew colours over here, man. Like it's Iron Brew.
Congratulations to Sweeney then for winning, and PG Paul Gardner. He won our Table Breakers fantasy league as well this year.
Mate, if you'd asked me back in March, and I don't even know who's in your league, who's going to win that league, I'd have put PG at the top. Like, for somebody that knows baseball, I'd have pretty much guaranteed it.
I think it was the final? No, it was the semi-final single way 2 weeks ago. So I was speaking to him after that, and he's just talking about pitching. He's got this guy going, he's got this guy going, this guy going, this guy going. That's all he's talking about. His fantasy team. He's like, I've got this guy going. I should be okay. I've got this guy going. Yeah.
Man, I love fantasy baseball. I really do. But man, it takes over your life, and it can influence your mood so badly. So
big time. Have you watching the playoffs?
I watched. Yeah. So you saw on my Facebook, I was watching 2 baseball games and a football game last night, and I had no idea what was going on in any of them because I don't have the attention span for that. But I was just really concerned with. I wanted the Mets to lose, obviously, which they didn't. And I wanted the Astros to lose. Again, I'm wearing all the colours of the teams that I want to lose, and they lost. So I was happy with that, man. I'm actually sitting watching Detroit and Houston, and now I've got them opening another tab. Bought me the 5th. No. Did you catch any playoff games?
I watched. What did I watch? I watched the first game last night. Who was that? Oh, Kansas Baltimore. Watched that, and then I put on the Mets game after that.
I like pitching, Jules, man. I think the Kansas walk away 1-0 with that.
Yeah.
Man, I love pitching, Jules. And see, to be honest, Kansas pitching's been amazing, man. They've got Seth Lugo, and who is it was pitching last night?
But Baltimore's pitching started great. They had thing going last night. They were outstanding to start with, and then it was a walk, gave up a hit, and the guy that walked, he was the one that scored. That was it.
That separates it, doesn't it, man?
That's all it is in this game. Yep. We're pretty early in the playoffs. But who do you fancy?
You know, I said the Brewers the last time I was on this, which was probably a wee bit of a silly vote, man. But see, when I'm thinking about it, right? So Detroit and Houston. I think if Detroit go through, they see Cleveland, and I don't know who gets that. I don't know. I can maybe see Detroit walking out of that, because if you go into a 5-game series and you can theoretically get Scooble pitching 2 of them, and I think he get 2 games out of that. And I think, I don't know, man, like the American League's wide open. I think you can't look by the Phillies and the Dodgers. Well, the Dodgers less so because of their pitching, but the American League's the one that's confusing me. I think Philly will end up getting there, but I couldn't tell you the American League. I'm kind of just hoping it's the Yankees, but I think that would be incredibly arrogant to say.
Let's all keep our fingers crossed that does not happen.
I don't know. I feel really good about it this year. I'm going to really regret this, but good. I feel really good about it.
Put it out there.
I'll manifest it, man. Well, you know, when you've got the payroll that they do, and you're sitting in the middle of your lineup, Stanton, Judge, and Soto, like you've got to have a chance, don't you, man? Like
you do. It's frightening. Frightening.
Who you fancying?
I really want the Royals to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to be tough. But
they've got the pitching, and they've got Bobby Witt Jr.
Bobby Witt Jr. He was the reason for my fantasy team this year. He was incredible. Unreal.
Who was he your best player in your fantasy team?
He must have been not far off it.
I'm in 2 fantasy leagues, but I done really bad in the other one.
Oh, I did terrible in the other one as well. All of the Blue Jay fans in the UK. Absolutely.
I think my best player. Do I have any Blue Jays? I'm going to see if I get any Blue Jays. Now, I think Soto was my best player in the one that I've got. I brought in Jacob deGrom. I picked him up, and he's not pitched over like 4 innings since he came back. So, all my good players that I picked up are all out an injury pretty much at this point. So, Sonny Gray, Nestor, and
I had so many injuries. It was brutal. Absolutely brutal.
It's wild, isn't it?
So far this year.
I think what we'll do, Bash, is we'll recap the Single A Caledonia Cup, and then we'll get on our guests. So we'll sort of run by it stage by stage. So the first semi-final was Tayport hosting. It was Edinburgh hosting Tayport, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You went through to watch that game. Can you remember what the final score was?
I can't. I know it was almost eerily similar to our final in the AAA. Up the whole game, and then just the last inning, it just goes away. I
think it was close, wasn't it? I think it kind of went back and forth for a wee bit, and Knights walked off with a victory. What was the feeling in Tayport after that, man? Was there a bit of reflection on things you could have done better, or was it just a case of that's what happens?
But again, same with our final. I don't think there was anything we could have done better or different. Ethan started off really well on the mound. He's got a pitch count, got to his limit, and that was him. Maybe another inning out of him could have been different. But yeah, the boys all did everything they could. After it, again, more just reflection on another good season and remembering. You kind of want to remember how it feels to get beat. You know what I mean? You want to have that here ready to go for next season, so you're at it again. We talked about that, and really just getting ready for next season again. It's just a start. Yeah.
So Knights went from that onto the first Caledonia Cup final.
Yep.
The other matchup that was played was Comets hosting Galaxy. I played in that game, and that was something. That was ended up Galaxy winning 16-3, so a huge scoreline in the end, and just a wild sort of game, man. You're looking at a team like the Galaxy who, in no disrespect to any of the teams involved, but Galaxy in regular season play hadn't bet the Comets since June 2022, I think was the last time.
Wow.
So, in Single A. So, I think it's one of the games, we gave up a lot of runs to start with and just never got back in it. And I think same as you guys sort of said, I'm like, when I was down in Slough and during the summer, I was talking to Jason West, and he said something that I didn't really think about a lot, and that is sometimes, it's really good to be humbled.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one of the things that we I think we just collapsed mentally more so than anything. You know, like we just thrown to bases we shouldn't have been thrown to, not thrown to bases we should be thrown to, and just not really knowing the pace of the game and letting the game speed up on you. So yeah, I mean, Galaxy, if you look at that score, the fact of the matter is, like, if you look at that box score, like from hitting to pitching to fielding to base running, every single measurable facet of the game, Galaxy were just the better team. It's just one of the things in baseball, man. Like sometimes it's just not your day. You know, it's so fluid.
And it
can be a really good team.
It can get away from you real quick as well.
I think that's the thing, and with a 5-inning game, you know, it's very easy to let the head dip. But you know, I think the thing is, and you try to get through to people, is that, you know, with the rules we've got in the single A is that you go once through the order and that's it. So theoretically, you give up maybe 5 or 6 runs, and that seems like a lot on paper, but that's really nothing in the single A. You know, you can get 5 or 6 runs back very, very quickly. So it's trying to get into that mindset of, you know, what is the game we're playing, how we're playing it, and realizing that these things that look massive and look like mountains are actually quite easy to catch up. And I think, there'll be a lot for us to reflect on as the Comets. But I guess for Galaxy, huge confidence boost for them going into the final, making their first Caledonia Classic. And, they were really, really happy to be there. And see, to be honest, man, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, I'm sure there's not many casual fans of baseball in Scotland, but
hundreds and thousands of them, Danny. What are you talking about?
See them in the hills of Tollcross in Edinburgh and that, man. But if you are a casual fan, you don't want the Comets and Tayport to get to the final again. You've seen it twice now. You know, like if I'm purely unbiased, I'm not in this league, then I'm looking at it and I'm like, let somebody else get a shot. Let's see Edinburgh in the Galaxy. So it's good for the game. It's good to get new people that shot at the title, man. Like, as a Comet, I definitely want the Comets to be there. Do you know what I mean? But as somebody that's unbiased, then I guess it's just good for the game. There's a competitive balance, isn't there?
Yeah, and it is nice to get to a final, playing a final as well, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was... The final was the score doesn't really live up to the game.
Yeah,
it was a really tight game to start with. It was 2 got away from that was all it was. And to be fair, Glasgow had so many hard hit balls. They found the fielder every time. Yeah,
and it was good actually. We had a stream in the final this time because we didn't have that in the
our final.
I probably we'll probably bring in Mookie in a wee bit to talk about the final in general. But before we do, I just want to celebrate the fact that Detroit have just went 1-0 up against Houston in the top of the 6th. So that's always good to hear. We're a good news podcast here, and we like to share the joy around. So when teams like Detroit go up,
we hate the Astros. That's the real reason.
I'm sure there's Astro fans out there, man. There's definitely Astro fans out there.
There shouldn't be.
Nah.
Yeah. No one likes the Astros.
So I want to give a few shout-outs before we bring the Mook in. We've got the award ceremony coming up on the 2nd of November. That's at the Station Hotel in Aberdeen. I'm sure we shared it in the Facebook page. Link in with the Facebook page if you want to buy tickets. Friends and family welcome. Always a really good night. You're planning and going up, aren't you, Bash?
Yeah, I'll see you there, Danny.
Yeah, home to get up. That should be good, man. It's a long drive, but you know what? The guys for Aberdeen come down and play us as much as they can. So you can't really complain about that. And it's always good to get the community together in a non-competitive way, man. So
I think we've said that before. It's good to see guys away from the field and chat about, you know, everything and anything away from a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. We also shared and I'll just pull it up here because I'm probably going to get the date wrong. It's in October.
12th of October, yeah.
You got it, Bash?
12th of October, Tayport. I can't remember the time, but yeah, the GB tryouts are up at our field Saturday, 12th of October. Be there or be square.
You don't want to be square. It's a horrible way to be, man. It's like one of the worst shapes that I can ever imagine. So you're going to go along to that, Bash? You're going to be there?
Yeah. I'm not going to play. I'll go along. I'll get a coffee and watch. That's my plan.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great chance for, especially younger guys anyway, to try and get involved and see what they're at, what level they're at. The coaches will give advice as well on what to work on. So I think that's always a good thing here.
Yeah. Maybe give even a few pointers, maybe hitting a few
Yeah,
home runs. Maybe.
Probably do a couple, you know.
Yeah. Get that off his back, man, and we'll be fine. So that'll be good, man. Nah, I hope to get along to that too. That'll be good, man, to go up there. So I think at this stage what we'll just do is we'll bring in Mookie. I know he's been in the show a few times before, so we'll bring him in just to sort of get a wee idea of how his seasons went.
Perfect.
How you doing, Mookie?
I'm all right. How are you?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Can I just say that is a horrible hat. That's terrible, Danny, man. Like,
just shush right there, Danny. Okay, we'll not have any more of that. Mookie,
I've got a couple of hats sitting here that'll switch out throughout the podcast, but I've not got a Yankees one. I couldn't bring myself to wear a Yankees one. Good man,
Mookie. Good man.
I don't know much about baseball, but I know that nobody likes the Yankees other than you and I think John McKellar.
Yeah, couple of weirdos.
I'm sure there's a good person in Edinburgh that likes the Yankees, maybe coaching the Angels. I'm sure there's Rick, not a Yankees fan. He's a Yankees fan, isn't he?
Oh, he's never let it slip.
Yeah.
Well, I've just crucified him now on this podcast. You can let the others know he's a Yankees fan. Okay, the last time you were on, actually, you were the first person that I ever saw on this podcast that was like, I don't really watch baseball. I like playing baseball, but I don't really watch it. Is that still the case, man? Are you still not?
I think more of the MLB stuff being on bases covered on the Sunday nights. I've watched a couple of that. I think last night I watched the Astros Tigers on and off. But no, I've been at a couple of games while being in the States, but I couldn't tell you that I avidly follow it. Like you were talking about your fantasy teams, and that's just no idea.
Mookie, that blows my mind.
Yeah. I was always, we've said this a few times, if we could design a fantasy team for Scottish baseball, that would be amazing, man. Like, it'd be awesome. But I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition, man. And I think there would be fights over who gets saving. So probably not a good thing just now with the way things are. But Mookie, I know you've been on before, man, but for guys that are maybe new into the community or trying baseball out for the first time or haven't seen this podcast, can you give us a wee bit of your background just in terms of when you started, who you play for, what it is you do?
So I started, I think, probably about 12 years ago with the Cannons. I don't think there's many other than Rory that are still around in that team. And I've been sort of on and off between trying to get play time for work and stuff like that. So I've been in and around Edinburgh and Scottish baseball for a while, but probably in the last 4 or 5 years more sort of solidly involved in it. And you know, with the starting of the development team, and then it moved into the single A, you know, starting the Knights, stuff like that. So it's been more heavily involved the last couple of years for sure.
How much work was that involved to start the Knights? Was a lot of work in the background, I'm guessing?
I think when the development league started, there was the Cannons development and Devils development. So we took everybody from that and combined them into one team. And you maybe know yourself from helping out in the single A, Danny and Bash, from watching as well, is that one weekend you'll get 40 people turn up to play, and then one weekend you'll be lucky if you get 9. So we sort of had that up and down for quite a while until we could really solidify that there was enough for 2 teams. And just really starting to push the recruitment for that was really important for getting the Angels started as well.
Yeah. So let's, before we get into sort of, you've obviously had a lot of success this year with the Knights, but I want to touch a wee bit upon the sort of journey in the Knights. So I think 2 years ago, you got into the playoffs. I guess everyone does in single A. You came against the Comets in the semi-final. We managed to take that in the bottom of the inning. The next year, I think you must have been against Tayport.
Yeah.
And then you went out in that. So you've got 2 consecutive seasons where you kind of, you know, you're battling all year for the title. It's very tight. And then you ultimately duck out in the first round of the playoffs. What's that like? What's the sort of culture in the clubhouse? What can you take for that when you're doing good all season? You know, you're battling for the title, and then ultimately, you know, those 2 seasons don't come into fruition the way you want them to be. Is there any reflections you take out of that?
I think the first season, obviously, like you say, everybody got into the playoffs and we lost to the Comets. And I believe I walked in Matt Gill for the winning run, but I don't know. It's not like it's played on my mind for the last 2 years. The year after that, the Tayport game, I can't remember the outcome of that other than Tayport winning it. I can't remember exactly what the sort of final score or how that went. But I think this season especially, we've looked back at the games and, you know, as each game from the season, even during the league, has come up, we've really maybe not openly reflected on it, but it's definitely been there in the back of people's minds about, you know, how the last 2 seasons have gone. I think the first thing that was said after we won this year was, you know, it's been 3 seasons coming that, you know, we've been trying to get there. So it's definitely something that we've thought about and reflected on, but maybe not let it weigh on us too much. But it's one of these things.
Like to get that off your back then, to finally get that win in the final.
It was a great relief. The game against Tayport was, like you said, it was down to the wire. I think it was 6-5, and I think it was Lee that got the walk-off single to score the winning run there. And I think the Tayport game was the one that we knew coming up that was going to be, like you say, Ethan's pitching is phenomenal. He's always been fast, and then at the start of the season, he was trying to find his placement, and I think he's worked with Avon, and he went back to the States, I believe, for a bit, and he came back. And that game that we played, the first one he came back, he was like a different beast completely. I know, really, really good.
He was on it when he came back. He was on it.
We had that playing on our mind quite a bit for the semi-final, at least, was that, you know, we're going to be facing good pitching, and we had to try and get the runs where we could. And then, obviously, the Galaxy game, once we got the Tayport game out of the way, we put our focus on the Galaxy game, and our biggest concern with that is that they've got such a deep bullpen. We've played games before where they've swapped the pitcher out every inning, and you might get used to one pitcher, like you might get used to Kai starting, and then immediately now you've got Roy that you have to deal with all the different pitches he throws and stuff like that. So we definitely tried to take it one game at a time, I think.
So yeah, Galaxy, that's where Galaxy's success came this year, and they've definitely gained momentum. Washington Nationals, you're just going from shit team to shit team, my goodness.
Wait till see what I got next.
You got a comments out there, goodness me. So the Galaxy, they've really gained momentum, man. And I'll throw this out there just for vanity purposes. We played the Galaxy, and I decided just to try and fuck with him and switch a pitcher every single inning. And then Sweeney stole my idea, and I actually worked to his incredible benefit. And it concluded with him beating us by fucking 13 runs to knock us out the postseason. So I don't know. It started out as a brag, probably not so much my best brag that I've had, but if you talk to Sweeney, he'll tell you that was my idea, to switch a pitching regularly. But that aside, Mookie, get back to the point at hand here. One of the things about the single A is it's been really fluid. So I remember the first year we'd done it when it was a development league, and one of the rules was anyone can play in it, but you can't play your natural position. So I remember pitching to Rory at shortstop, and you had guys, you know, just that were very accomplished hitters that were playing in different positions. They then firmed that up, and they said, actually, if you're AAA, you can pitch or you can catch, but you can't hit. Yeah. And I think that's what you done last year. You didn't hit in the league last year, didn't you? No, you just pitched.
No, I didn't. Didn't hit in the single A league last year. Just pitched. Yeah.
So you dropped down to this year to compete in the single A. What was the thought process behind that? What kind of things were going through your head there?
I think with the AAA, especially this season for both Edinburgh teams, there's been a large influx of really high quality players. And especially at the start of the season, I think when you looked at the rosters both of them had, I didn't see myself. Well, I can see myself fighting for a place in there, but it would be a hard fight. It would be, a couple innings here and there.
Yeah.
And
you want to play, right?
I want to play, and managing a team. If I'm going to get up at 8 a.m. to drive to Tayport, I want to play a game of baseball at least out of it. So there was that sort of aspect of it as well, is that it's good to be able to get involved and play with the team that's being managed as well. Yeah.
So is that a hard decision to make? Because you're ultimately playing 2 less games, and every game you play is 2 less innings. So, I mean, you're ultimately accepting that you're going to be playing less baseball. And this is something that I've thought about, because if you're wanting to develop, then you're going to want to play in AAA. It's where you'll be pushed the most, isn't it? And I get what you're saying. But if you are going to play in single A, once you hit that ceiling where you can hit the pictures and you're performing quite well, it's very hard to develop if you're not being pushed, if you're not seeing pitching that's fast or overwhelming or things like that. So ultimately, I think if you have a AAA player like myself or like yourself that's maybe thinking, well, I'll compete in single A, is there an element of, does this stunt my development a wee bit? Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I get that, definitely. I think especially the pitching, it's a different type of pitching. Is like, if you put David in a single A league, it would just be like, what, 18 strikeouts a game or something like that.
Well, we'll see, because I'm pushing for it next year. Let's go for him.
So definitely the pitching is the biggest difference, and allowing single A players to play up in AAA games when they're needed is really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of the games this season. Adam's done some, and a lot of the guys for the Devils. The Angels have played for the Devils as well, and I think that's helped them develop. So there's definitely an element of it might stunt the growth a little bit, but I feel like there's more benefit overall where you can really secure the basics before you get thrown in the deep end of AAA baseball.
Yeah. So you guys, as the Knights, start the season really well. I think round about the midway point, you are leading the league. You're met with a few different things. There's a few barriers that picked out in your season. So you obviously you had a game at one point with Tayport that was called at the 2-hour mark, where you just had this sort of hour of baseball that you had to play that was hanging over your head for the majority of the season, to be honest. And then you have, one with the Galaxy, and there's things going on there. And it just seems that you guys had a lot to overcome this year. I mean, specifically with the Tayport game and that hour sort of hanging over your head, can it be quite frustrating when you're kind of trying to know where you are in the season, but there's a lot of unanswered, lot of things in moving parts in the single A? Yeah,
the game with Tayport, that game kept weighing on us quite a bit, because I think that was the one that we had, at the time that it finished, we were losing that game.
Yeah.
And I think that possibly might have been our first sort of unofficial loss of the season. I think we'd drawn a couple of games, but I think that definitely sat in the back of a lot of people's heads, is that, we've still got this game to finish out, and we've still got a bit of work to do in that hour of game time.
Yeah.
Then obviously there was the rules breach with the Galaxy that caused the forfeit in that, which was annoying, but it is the rules. That's partly my fault for not letting Sweeney know we're using an Angel. And then I think we had a couple of games where we tied. Some of them we rallied, I think actually most of them we rallied back from, down to come back in the bottom of the inning and tie the game. So there was a lot of fight still there, but it was just maybe a slower start after the sort of mid-season break.
What do you put that down to? Was there holidays and things like that, or just?
Yeah, it was a bit of everything. There was holidays. There was some people injured. I think there was quite a large break between the London series, Farnham. There was something else.
wasn't there? Yeah, there was a big gap.
Man, there seems to be this every year because round about that, the end of June, start of July, you've got the All-Star break, which then became a make-up week. You have the Farnham tournament. You have the other thing you mentioned, the MLB series, which we're not having next year. And it seems like Orioles, very nice. They're actually quite good this season. It seems like every year at the height of summer, we just kind of stop playing baseball, and that can be quite frustrating. That can be, it can take any momentum out of you a wee bit as well, because you're kind of going for rolling into June to, I'm not really playing now for months, for a month, for 4 weeks or something like that.
About 4 or 5 weeks till we played a game, something like that. I think we had a rain play as well, and then the week's off, and that was it. So
let's take it up to the middle of the season. You're leading the league. Couple of things happen. You end up at MLB London, and we require clarification as to whether you grabbed a ball that Fee missed or grabbed a ball that Fee was going to get, because there's been a big topic all season on this episode, man.
I knew this was going to come up. I forgot about this. So to put everyone to rest, the story that Paul said about him dropping the ball, that's not true. I believe Adam, Wren, and I think Andrew Wilson was with us as well. They saw where all the foul balls, all the BP balls were getting hit and thrown into the crowd. So they moved a couple of seats down. So I stood with Fee and Kiro, and the left fielder, no idea what his name is, turned round, and in fairness, Fee was the only one stood there in a Mets jersey amongst a sea of Phillies fans, and the ball was thrown his way. Instinctively, I put my hand out, he put his hand out, and he grabbed my hand as I grabbed the ball. There was a exchange of looks, I think is probably the best term. But no, he submitted the ball to myself, which I was appreciative of, and I was actually going to say to him that if we'd saw you guys in the final, I'd have played him for it. And
fair enough.
We'll wait till the next game, this next season. We'll play it for then.
To be fair, Mookie, you'd had a few beverages before the game as well.
Yeah.
Fee's a Mets fan, so I'm not going to say anything nice, to be honest. The Mets have, as I've covered already, the Mets have caused me no end of discontent this past week. So feel free to keep the ball. You can tell them I said that. That's fine. Also, during the middle of the season, you captained, mostly captained, Mookie, the first single A Scotland squad. So talk a wee bit about that, how that came about, what that felt like to get that honour to do that, man.
Well, firstly, thank you for helping, because it was not an easy task for the two of us for the weekend. But no, it was really good. We've been down to Farnham before for a couple of the AAA tournaments or National League or whatever it is they're associated as now. But we'd always wanted to take down a single A level team, and we got that opportunity this year. And the standard of baseball that we saw was very, very good for the league to see, and for that tournament to see us as well. Got a lot of interest going, I think, from that. The GB have taken a lot more interest up in what's going on up north. But no, it was just a really good weekend. And it was like you were saying earlier about the Aberdeen Awards. It's good to see people like either on the same team that you wouldn't normally play with, or off the field, and the Moon and Spoon every night.
Moon and Spoon, yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, it's good, man. Like, I obviously know you, Mookie. I didn't know a lot of nights, though. It was good to get to speak to Reese and Adam and Caitlin and things like that. And it was good to actually, spend some time with you guys. It wasn't in a competitive format. Yeah. When we were down there, I remember you saying to me, like, nobody really wants to pitch to the GB women's team. I was like, I'll do it, man. But the real issue there was that I ended up, being a bit of a hazard to the kids more so than the women. I hit about 3 of them. Is the plan, or do you know if the plan is to have another single A team go down next year?
I would definitely hope so. I believe there's a change in management at the top of Baseball Scotland, but I think we'll definitely push for that. You know, everybody's got a taste of it now, so it would be upsetting for people to not be able to get that opportunity again. So I think it's definitely something we should try.
Yeah, it's such a good weekend.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah.
Would you plan on going down again, Mookie?
Yeah, definitely. If work and holidays allow it, definitely. I
heard word on the street was that you can get discounted train tickets for everyone. So
I know a guy. Yeah.
That's the most shadiest thing I've ever heard on this.
He might play first base for the Knights every now and then.
Phone the Mookie. That's fine, man. So coming back for that, man, Edinburgh really did you? Well, firstly, I'll ask, like, did you notice any? Was there any benefits in the player that went down? Did you notice anybody really take anything from that into the season? Because Edinburgh aside, I'm asking you about Edinburgh, but I personally think Big Hero, like, he went down there, nobody could get him out, and he hit 3 home runs, and it was just impossible to get him out off the back of that. So you've seen his confidence increase from that. Did you notice that in Edinburgh for any of your guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think with seeing the sort of stand with the GB players as well pushed a lot of people to realise that there's still a lot to learn even at that level. Well, sorry, especially at that level. And then, you know, we got to watch the AAA guys as well, so you got to see some of the really high standards of baseball there. No, I think everybody definitely took something away from it, and it's definitely pushed them on to, you know, train a bit harder at something, or training harder at something new. But no, it was a really good weekend for everybody, I think.
I was blown away by the discipline of the GB. It was the 15 team.
Yeah.
The plate discipline was frightening. We stood behind and watched their at-bats the last game, and I'm like, these guys were if it wasn't where it wanted to be, they were not swinging for nothing. We're waiting for that one pitch you wanted. It was unreal.
Yeah. Yeah, we've said that a few times. It's just a different way of baseball. When you look at, you know, we in Scotland, we don't have resource, we don't have investment, we don't have the infrastructure. Nice one. So when you look at when people are afforded that, like these kids being taken to camps in America, specialist training, things like that, you notice a stark difference. Like, we're competing against guys that are much younger than us, you know, and we're not athletically more advanced, but physically, you know, we're adults, you know, but these guys are just so more advanced than us because they've had that infrastructure and they've had that investment. And, you know, you just hope that sometimes in the future we can get to that, man, don't you?
I think from an early age, isn't it? Like, we're like that for football up here. Like, we've got so many good young football players because they play it all the time. It starts from a young age. Baseball's not like that up here yet.
You couldn't hand the kids baseball bats in some parts of Scotland, man. It would just be hazardous to health, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them do have baseball bats, but they've got nails as well,
In Coatbridge, I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was the only person that carried a bat and a ball. So I know what you're talking about. Mookie, the second half of your season, you kind of catch fire, man. And I no disrespect to any of the other teams, but when we're going into the postseason, I remember I was saying to a few guys, I'm like, listen, if we get to the final, I think we're seeing the Knights. And a few guys are like, Tayport have been there, they've done that, you know, they thought with Ethan, we're seeing Tayport. And I had you guys down just with the fact that in the last 2 games of the season, you've generated almost 40 runs off of Comets and off of Tayport. What was behind that massive drive and momentum at the end of the season, man?
I think it was sort of a return of the same as the start of the season, was that, you know, everybody's back from their holidays, everybody's down at training every week. We get the pitching machine out and, you know, the batting cage tunnel and stuff like that we've got. We've now got I think it's 60 feet like net that we can now fire the pitching machine through. So you get to see more sort of live speed pitching, balls coming at you as opposed to, you know, soft toss or BP, stuff like that. So we definitely put a focus on the batting because our fielding's never been bad. we've maybe just always had one inning that is a little bit ropey, and then we sort of tighten it up again.
Yeah.
So I think definitely a offensive push was definitely what hit.
We've got one of them as well. We got one of the big long nets. They kind of look like a greenhouse sort of thing. It's very difficult to get people regular at bats in those if you've got big numbers at your club. Did you find that in training, or did you have a structure in place just to make sure everyone was getting continuous reps?
Yeah, so obviously we get a lot of help from the AAA guys like Connor and Fed and Rory especially. They're down every Wednesday and Friday helping out. And, you know, some of the best hitters in the league, like Connor's hit.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's got a ridiculous average this season. And, you know, getting hitting tips from him definitely helps. And there was a bit of at the start, there was a bit of a queue for the net, so to speak. But then once we'd structured it where, you know, you've got the net set up, but then you've got soft toss, you've got the tee, you've got, you know, you put up the field and hit sort of live BP essentially. It definitely, with a lot of people there, helped everybody have something to do and not feel like they were just standing waiting for their turn to swing a bat.
Isn't the biggest thing, Mookie? Like the more you get to hit, obviously you just get in that zone and you feel a lot better. But if you're only getting hit or hit decent once every week, 2 weeks, then you're never going to get there, are you?
Yeah, it's definitely more reps is definitely helping.
Yeah. I'm sorry to be a bad news pod, but Houston have now tied it up and they've got bases loaded, so it's not looking good, boys. There might be a sad ending to this episode, but one of the big things was your change in, I don't know if it's a conscious change, Mookie, or what it was, but you started using Caitlin more often in the second half of the season. Now, Caitlin is not your traditional pitcher, but I'll say outright, she's the last person that I want to see in a mound if I'm facing anyone. Because who have you got now? Who is that?
I think it's the Cubs. I don't know. I just really like the hat.
It is the Cubs.
It is the Cubs, yeah. It's the bear logo, isn't it? Yeah.
So I'll say,
I don't even know who the actual logo was. I think it's the Cubs. I'm not sure.
It's got a bear on it. Is that? Or...
it's a bear or the Cubs. It's one of the two. One of the things about when you've got someone like Caitlin pitching is that people will look at her warming up. She's just tossing it in there. She's incredibly accurate. And people think, I'm going to absolutely murder that. And you need to generate a tremendous amount of power to even get that ball anywhere close to the outfield fence. So what you do is you just get a lot of reps in the outfield and a lot of reps in the infield because she's just making you put it in play. As a manager, is there a hesitancy there of... Because you see with your eyes, it doesn't look like traditional pitching, but it's getting the results. So as a manager, are you thinking people are going to figure this out sooner or later, or are you just trusting the process and allowing her to get the job done?
So I think she first pitched in Farnham. And I think seeing that it's like pitching that is to contact, but it's ground outs, it's pop outs, something like that. Like, I think the GB kids were swinging and missing at stuff that they could have swung it twice before it came in. But that's goes down to they have to have better plate discipline, I guess, is to recognise the pitching. And I will hold my hands up and say that she had asked from the start of the season to try pitching, and I hadn't sort of taken that step yet. And I think it was, again, not that it weighs on my mind, that game that I threw 100 and 200 and something pitches against the Comets. Wow. Probably should have put somebody else in to pitch. But I just kept digging that hole and kept falling deeper and deeper in it. But no, it was definitely we need to try something different. And she had asked, and I thought about time that I'd listened to her.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, is you see her warming up and she's throwing it in, but she's throwing strikes. That's like she would heckle from behind at second base and just throw strikes. How hard can it be? Just throw strikes, which
it's good advice.
It is good advice. Yeah,
it is right.
It's annoyingly simple advice, but it works, and that's all that she's doing is she's throwing the ball over the plate. And like you say, you have to have good plate discipline to wait on it and wait on it and generate a lot of force to actually get anything good out of it.
Yeah.
Kiro last weekend had been eyeing it up from the start, and I think he ground out his first at bat, hit a line drive single to centre field, and then at his last at bat hit a home run. We knew it was coming. We saw him teeing it up, but at the time it was like a 2-run home run, and I think that put them to 7 runs against our 10 plus, 15 plus. So it is pitching to contact, and I think what our plan for that was just put the best defence behind it and just get the outs, which had worked for us in both the last games we've played and most of the games that she's pitched as well. And then there's obviously if people start to sort of figure it out and, like you say, are now waiting on it and they're starting to get decent hits out of it and maybe the infield are making a bit of errors, then that's when you would look at bringing in a different speed of pitching and sort of throw everybody off.
Yeah.
It's incredibly infuriating because you guys obviously pitched her against us and you're sitting there and a lot of the guys are like, oh yes, good. And I'm like, no, this is the worst news ever, because in order to hit that type of pitching, you need to line drive it right back to them. Like, because if you try and pull that, like a lot of people do, it's just getting caught up in the air, or you're popping up or you're grounding out to third. And it's like, if you look at I obviously watch a lot of documentaries and knuckleball pitchers, and they speak about managers not trusting them, even if they're getting the result.
Yeah.
Like Phil Necro speaks about, I went out there and I pitched 7 shutout innings one day, and then I was sent down the next day. He's like, if I was throwing 95, 96 and I pitched 7 shutout, he's like, that would be it. Like, I'd be in that, I'd be front of the rotation. But if it doesn't look how you traditionally think pitching to look, then a lot of people don't trust it, man. But you're right. Just if the results are there, then you keep doing it and you let the success roll off the back of it, man. So you guys get to the final. You beat Tayport. What's that like, even to get to the final, to make your first final? What's the feeling in Edinburgh, getting that first step in the road there?
It was great. Obviously, getting the win against Tayport was hard fought, and we're really, really happy to have got over the line. And then taking it to our first final, we were just excited for the whole day. I think it was Saturday night. I was like a kid at Christmas. I was like, I don't want to go to sleep. I just want it to be Sunday morning now. And I mean, even if it means I was down setting up the field at 10 o'clock, but still it means, it's game day, you're there, and everybody was in the same boat. We're all messaging on the chat, oh, I wish it was just Sunday now at 12 o'clock. Like, can't wait till first pitch, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Caitlin's just put in, just throw strikes, boys. It's not that hard. you would think so, wouldn't you, man? Like, good advice. I'm going to practice throwing strikes from now on.
What was the group like the night before the game?
It was just everybody, just like I said, they were buzzing for it. Everybody's struggling to get to sleep, stuff like that. So it was definitely a lot of excitement in the chat.
Good.
So you guys go up against the Galaxy. Now, you guys throughout the season have had a lot of success. Philadelphia Phillies, yeah.
The Phillies, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was an old
1980 World Series.
Nice.
I didn't know if it was the old Philadelphia Athletics. That's a pretty cool hat.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? You had a lot of success. You bet the Comets this year in 2 out of 3. I think you bet Tayport and you drew. The one team that sort of eluded you this season was Galaxy. So you're going in to face a team that has kind of escaped your grasp all season, who have just come off a very convincing win against the Comets. What's the feelings there with it being the Galaxy? What are some of your considerations? What are some of the things you're thinking about?
I think we definitely, before the game, the one thing that a lot of us were huddling around at the start was, don't let their season where they sort of, them and the Angels were fighting for that 4th spot, don't let that influence how these games go. They're postseason games. They're one game. It's do or die.
Yep.
So it was definitely, don't take anything with a pinch of salt. Don't give anything away for free. Play it as if you were playing the most, well, I suppose it is the most important game of the season for us at that point was to just go out and really try and get that win.
I think that's the most important thing. Like, you play one out at a time. You're not trying to do everything, every at bat, or you just have to do the simple things, the right things, and you'll get there. If you, like Danny said earlier, when you start to the ball a little bit, the game can quickly get away from you. And if you're only playing 7 innings in the final, it's hard to get back from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And even more so in single A, because don't play 7 innings ever until it's that final. Then you're looking at, there are some teams that, and we've diversified a bit, but there's some teams that will rely predominantly on 1 or 2 arms. So 7 innings is a big ask, so and you're right, you just kind of need to slow it down and take it bit by bit, don't you?
Yep.
Mookie, the game starts off really tight. I think you kind of go back and forth, keeping the score quite tight. Galaxy up, Edinburgh up. What's the feeling in the initial stages of that game before you sort of pull forward? Does it just try to chip away at it, or is there a sort of nervousness on the bench or anything like that?
Less of a nervousness and more of like trying to like keep everybody's spirits up. Maybe 1 or 2 runs scored to give Galaxy the lead, and trying to keep everybody's heads up. And there's only 1 or 2 runs in it. There's still 4 or 5 innings of baseball left. And like you say, it's single A, like it can change in an inning, which it did. But no, I remember standing at third base and Sweeney's base coach in third base, and I think it was they'd just taken a run to make it 4-all or 5-all or something like that. A tight game the whole time.
Yeah.
And we just sort of turned and looked at each other, and I remember sort of both almost mouthing at the same time, "We've got a ball game going at the moment." And it was just a really good game to be part of. I was in agony the Monday morning afterwards. 7 innings is not fun.
I know.
Yeah, guys, I play double headers every weekend in my season's a double header, so
that's a good point.
I'm not hearing it, man. I'm not hearing it. Yous pull ahead, and I think the second half of the game, it's just, it's a dominant display. I know Galaxy kind of had a few innings that just kind of got away from them, but you managed to see it out. As you said, you can absorb the 2-run homer off Akiro and dust it off. I didn't see the end of the game. What was the final out? How did you get the final out?
So it was caught on the stream, and Ewan made a point of it, and she's going to give me abuse for bringing this up. So there was a ground ball straight back to Caitlin, and she threw it to James at first. And Ewan said it was James's error. Caitlin's claiming it was her throwing error. But the runner was safe. It was fumbled about a little bit and then dropped. And then almost copy and paste the next batter, exactly the same thing. Ground ball back to Caitlin pitching. And she made sure this time by throwing it straight at James's chest that he was getting that out for the last out.
Yeah. I know she's tuned in now. So Caitlin, for future reference, just throw strikes at first base. That's all you need to do. Just look at visualize it and just throw it. Dead easy. Just poof. There you go.
You don't have to worry about fielding. Just throw a strike, and that's all you have to worry about. You'll be sorted.
Yeah. So, and what was the feeling then, Mookie? You secured your first championship as the Edinburgh Knights. Quite an achievement, given that you guys are in your first few years of infancy. For a lot of guys, it's their entry point into baseball. It completes the double for the Cannons, obviously, when you guys are working under the Cannons as a single A affiliate. First of all, Detroit have even got up. We got it. Cool. What's the feeling when you secure that, Mookie, man? What's the celebrations like afterwards?
Oh, it was great. I mean, we had to take the field down, which ruined everything a little bit. But no, we got the beers out, and once we'd taken the field down, sort of really let it sink in. There's the pub at the end of the road, the Orchard. You've probably driven past 100 times.
I saw you there.
Yeah, so we went for a couple of drinks in there and stayed in there most of the night. But no, it was really, really good. Everybody came in and at least had a drink and just chatted about the game. And I think there was a lot of tired legs, so it wasn't maybe as I don't know, it wasn't an all-nighter sort of thing. Like we weren't going out to the pubs and clubs and whatever, but we definitely had everybody in, you know, chatting about the game. Everybody's really hyped about it. And, you know, like I said, one of the first things that was said about it is it's been 3 seasons coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just a feeling of accomplishment, man, that you set out what you wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So, one for that, Mookie, as you transition on to what's presumably your final hat, the Edinburgh Knights.
I've got that one as well, but
right, sorted. What do you take from this then? Is it a case of enjoying your winter break, looking forward to the award ceremony, then thinking about how you do it again next year?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. Is we've got the Aberdeen Awards and we've got our own Edinburgh Awards as well, which were before the Aberdeen Awards, I believe. I'll need to double check the date, but we've got the awards for that. We've got the weekend at Tayport planned, and then I think we're looking at sort of winter training indoors somewhere. I think there's talk of a couple of the sort of schools have indoor hall facilities, or like Heriot Watt, the university has a large sports area there. Nice. So just pushing on for next season, see if we can get the league this time.
It's a big ask, isn't it, man? It's always very competitive. Yeah. So, you guys have been amazing, man. I think particularly the last month of the season, you were certainly the strongest team in the league, man. Really firmed things up. So it'll be exciting to see what you guys do next year. Mookie, where can people get involved if they want to get involved with the Edinburgh Knights? How would they get in touch with you guys?
So we've got the Facebook page, the Instagram. I think we have a Twitter. I don't know if that's been manned at all.
X, isn't it?
X, sorry, yes.
Yeah. You're right.
So the Knights have got all their own social medias there. It's just Edinburgh Knights Baseball. Obviously, we've got all the links through the Baseball Scotland page, the Edinburgh Baseball page as well. On all the socials. Can get involved, and we'll be definitely starting that sort of recruitment push for the next season, making sure we've got rosters for every weekend.
Yeah, and it starts on.
I'm seeing, and I'm just going through I didn't want to break the natural flow of conversation, but McKellar said his coaching wisdom in the car over from Edinburgh almost certainly got you guys over the line. What was the coaching wisdom? Do you care to share what he told you?
So that was the weekend that we played you guys through in Glasgow. I think John was at a gig in Edinburgh or thereabouts, and he'd got in touch and asked for a lift through. So we gave him a lift through in the morning. He was telling us all the stealing signs and pitching signs and stuff like that.
Aye, he said, Mookie, expect knuckleballs because we've heard you can't hit knuckleballs, so just expect a few of them, man.
That was it. I was just every knuckleball that I seen from you, just fouled it off and just waiting for something else.
You get it, man. You get it. I think one of your players actually got me for like a triple off one, man. So I was like,
I think Arnold got a opposite field triple off it.
But I was like, hit a knuckleball opposite field for a triple is pretty impressive, man. I was just like, that's just, as a baseball fan, that warms my heart, man. Even if it's off me, like I'm like Paul Skeen's giving up a homer to show a Tanny. I'm just like, hit a knuckleball for a triple. Well done, man. Like, yeah. Guys, I think, was there anything else we want to pick up on? Anything? Bash, you've got a question you always ask our guests to bring it out in the end.
One more for you. What's your death row meal? We need a starter, a main, and a dessert. What you having?
So I knew this was coming, so I've been thinking about it all week.
Good man.
So when I was in Boston, I had this lobster and swordfish linguine.
Oh, that sounds
I'd have that as a starter.
Yes.
And then probably just a big steak for the main. You know, with the chips and veg and everything like that.
Nice.
And then dessert. It's very niche, but I travel quite a lot for work and I stay in the Village Hotel every now and then because we've got corporate stuff with them, whatever. But they do a chocolate tort, and it's essentially like a chocolate cheesecake.
Okay.
That with like a big thick chocolate sauce on the top of it. That would be those three. You'd have to roll me in the chair, but I'd get there eventually.
Nice. That pasta. That linguine sounds incredible, bud.
Swordfish, man. I've never had swordfish. I love
I'd
lobster.
never had it before either, but it's really good.
A swordfish steak, chef's kiss, beautiful.
Ah, really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mickey, I think you win that one, man.
Yeah.
Like, we've never had that before. Like, so that's pretty cool. Bash, I think I'm going to need to ask you yours, because I think our next episode will be a recap of the award ceremony. It'll probably be our last. So I'll need to get you thinking about that. Cool, guys. No, thanks so much for joining us, Mookie. That's been really good to catch up with you, man. I appreciate it, and congratulations. I don't even think I said congratulations on being crowned Cup champion. So,
no, thank you. Thanks for having us. And it's been a good season. It's been a fight and competitive the whole way. So
it was a great game. It really was. It was a great game. It was super tight. I think the defense probably was the one that stole it. I know you had a lot of hits, a lot of runs, but I think it was your defense. Glasgow had at least 4 or 5 really hard hit, well hit balls that just did not find the gap. If they find the gap, they're scoring runs every time off it.
Yeah,
I think the defense.
I think I got no errors that game, because I think Arno covered me enough that he threw an absolute laser beam from behind third after one skipped past me. So I've got him to thank for that, for saving me an error on that as well.
I think I was picked up in the broadcast because I didn't see it, but I heard Paul saying you were saved from an error. So he crucified you anyway on the stream and said you should have got an error. So
it's all right. Just nobody look at my stats on errors and field anyway. It's fine.
Okay, you're going to be pitching next year, Mookie. You're going to be doing that.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll definitely try and deepen the bullpen. I think Adams had a bit of sort of midsection injury for the last couple of weeks, so he's been out pitching and not feeling it there. Obviously, Caitlin's come in and has been lights out for 13 of the last 14 innings in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, just try and develop the team together and get people trying new things, get people trying pitching. That's how you find diamonds in the rough, really.
Nice.
Yeah. Cheers again, Mookie. All the best. I'm going to end this podcast episode with some words of wisdom. On the Detroit Tigers, fuck the mates. Thanks very much, guys. See you later.
Cheers, guys. See you.